Hey Bones, how you doing today?
Pretty good, Padre. What's going on?
Well, kind of wanted to follow up on our Utah crime thing with an incident that just unfolded last night up in Box Elder County, city of Tremonton. I don't know if you were following that or saw any of it on the news or any social medias, but it was a very sad incident occurred up there in Tremonton.
I seen it at 6 this morning
Yeah,
on the
I was following it last night on some social media posts and trying to follow it on what was coming out on the news as it was occurring. Uh, get to the bones of what it is that happened, no pun intended. And then
wasn't
we'll
wasn't me.
we'll do some follow up on it. So uh, last night, August 17th at 9 o'clock, Box Elder was getting multiple 911 hang up calls from a residents up in Tremonton. They responded to a domestic violence at that home, and an officer from Tremont and Garland Police was speaking with the resident of the home who was talking about the domestic violence when a male came out of the residence with a firearm, opened fire on the officer, striking and killing him. A second officer, also with Tremont and Garland PD, responded to assist. He was immediately fired upon by the same suspect, and he was also struck and killed by the suspect's gunfire. A third officer, who was a deputy from Box Elder County, he'd also been dispatched, and as he arrived into the area, the suspect fired several rounds into the deputy's vehicle, and that deputy and the police service dog was struck and hit by gunfire. They remained in their vehicle and subsequently were evacuated to an area hospital and a veterinary clinic where they received medical treatment, and they're both recovering in fair condition. Um, After firing on the three officers and the service dog, apparently bystanders convinced the suspect to put the weapon down, and he was taken into custody by additional responding officers. The incident on social media didn't end there because, due to the level of violence and lack of information, SWAT teams responded to clear the home and verify that no continued threat remained. The suspect was booked into Box Elder County Jail on charges of aggravated murder. So these are the facts as it comes out when we get the facts in the aftermath. Thoughts on this incident, Bones?
That's pretty crazy, like you had said, we had just finished talking about escalating crimes in Utah and basically in the larger city. But this one proves that it can happen anywhere. Uh, Fremont being a small community of about 10,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
The officers that showed up, the first officer, I'm pretty sure he didn't know exactly what he was walking into. That's evident, and really feel bad about him and the other officer being shot and killed, not being able to make it home to their families. Um, but it makes me wonder what this guy that did the shooting is about. Um,
Well, very valid point there, Bones. I can tell you from experience, this doesn't follow the way these things traditionally go down, and I will refrain from trying to Monday morning quarterback because I wasn't there. Uh, you know, this is a small community that doesn't have a history of a lot of violent crime, and I would guess that officers are more used to responding, and it's a smaller community. They may even know the people, and being able to handle these things. And it seems like this suspect, and I'm guessing They haven't released any name or information on the suspect. I'm guessing when that comes out, you're going to find that you've got a suspect that had some kind of firearms training or a background, either military or law enforcement, that has done some training with firearms to be able to uh, emerge with a weapon, fire upon and kill an officer with accuracy before the officer gets an opportunity to defend himself. Second officer responding, obviously going to be walking into a chaotic situation. Again, likely not suspecting that type of violence going to be coming at him. And a canine officer just driving up to have your vehicle fired upon as you're approaching the area. These are not normal circumstances. And the accuracy from the suspect being able to pull this off is not common. Uh, Again, there's no way I can Monday morning quarterback or talk about what these officers did right or did wrong because we don't know.
We don't know. We
The
don't
only
know.
thing we do know is it was a very unfortunate situation that they will not be returning from, and it's a very sad day for that community. It
Yeah,
definitely a tragedy that occurred up
it
in there.
incidents like this, you got your small towns, small communities that refer, like if you remember Andy Griffith Mayberry, you know,
Right.
where everybody knows everybody, everybody talks to everybody. But I do know that Tremonton does have people moving in there uh, from not as many as in the larger areas in Utah, but they do have people moving in there from other walks of life, other cultures and stuff. And I'm not sure because we don't have all the information. I'm not sure about where this guy or what this guy is.
Yeah,
Uh,
I'm waiting for the follow up on that to see if we're accurate in this assessment with this guy being trained. I know your average statistics on law enforcement related shootings. This falls well outside the parameter of that, and knowing that in a hostile and violent situation with adrenaline up, to be able to fire upon and hit fatally two officers and hit another and his canine dog in a vehicle. We don't know the distance on it.
yeah,
Don't know even what kind of weapon he was using.
right, and that was at the wee hours of the morning, so your visibility is not very good,
Well,
and
and I'm guessing this goes down right around 10, 11 o'clock at night. Uh,
okay,
uh,
okay,
the
uh,
original call was at 9 o'clock. Um,
yeah, so it's still dark,
yeah, it's
you know,
dark. Um,
and Tremonton sits in that little mountain valley, so it can
mhm,
get darker quicker,
right.
so,
Well,
um,
the thing that I wanted to hit on with this, we've talked about what it is that actually occurred. Um, when I picked up on it, it was probably about midnight last night. I started seeing it on social media. Uh, One of my contacts on social media that lives in that area was actually live streaming this SWAT standoff. And the information that was coming out in the threads, they were talking about hostage situation, children in the home, even giving ages of children in the home. Early information, while it's still a situation of chaos, people are saying two officers dead, one officer and a canine wounded. Uh, People talking about life flights, SWAT teams, officers from multiple jurisdictions, 50 and 60 miles away, responding, hitting the freeway and heading up there, and that it was an active shooter situation all the way up until 2 o'clock this morning. This is the information coming out. The mayor had issued a statement about two officers being fatally wounded and the canine deputy being injured and his dog, and then redacted the statement. Uh, Fox News came on with an update on it saying they're not going to put out any of that information until they have it. People on these social media threads saying, hey, why are we posting this live? If you were this officer's family, would you want to be finding out about this on social media? Uh, some of the things that were being said, people that are following these incidents and then putting out information, guessing what's going on when they don't have the facts. Uh,
Right,
it's
right.
kind of followed this trend of misinformation and leading people to believe something when we don't have the facts. And I'm glad that we've got the facts, or at least the timeline of events on the incident before we talk about it, and and qualify it with, we can surmise who this suspect is and what it was about. Uh,
That's all
I,
speculation,
I
you
can
know.
only imagine what the officers were doing, how they handled it. I won't say they did anything wrong because I don't know what they did. Uh,
No, I think that they got the element of surprise in this one. Is I don't believe that they were expecting um, or anticipating this to happen. You know,
well, I'm sure they
um,
weren't. I'm sure they weren't working in a small town community like that, that doesn't have a history for this kind of violence. I don't imagine that they went into this thinking that would be the case. I mean, multiple 911 hangups, one
you
officer responding and going to the door. That's not something that you'd see
know,
happen in Ogden or Layton or Clearfield if it were a
well, yeah,
911 hangup.
this type of thing. Now that this has happened in that small community, this is going to spark a change in how calls are handled in the department. I'm pretty sure. Just like you had talked about the changes Ogden went through from the time your dad was a police officer, you were a police officer, and today.
Right,
So this will spark a pretty good sized change, I believe, in Tremont and Garland Police Department.
right. And how they respond to these situations. Uh, again, just a travesty. I know when I was in law enforcement and as I was going through the academy, they always trained, any traffic stop for any minor offense could be your last if you weren't aware and expecting it on every call. Uh, but as you go through your career and you don't run into it and you don't run into it and you don't run into it, oftentimes you can be lulled into these false senses of security. And I'm not saying that's the case with these officers. I'm just saying that it can happen, uh, and then you don't expect it. And when you least expect it, that's when you can expect it. Um, Again, I'm not saying that's what occurred here because I don't know, Bones.
Yeah,
But
we don't know the particulars, but I just was saying what I think will happen inside the department to help prevent this kind of incident for them in the future. So it's a changing world, a continual changing world, and
mm-hmm,
I do know. I've been up there, and Tremonton's not the same city it was. We used to go hunting up there, go through Tremonton to the Sawtooth and stuff like that.
right,
Um, used to eat breakfast. I forget the name of the little cafe that was downtown, but that was our favorite stop to get some breakfast
mm-hmm,
on the hunting. But um, go up there now, you got some 3, 4 story apartment buildings in town now. you know. A lot of the old stuff isn't there anymore. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so it's changing also. Uh,
Well, back, when I think Tremonton, because I don't get up into that neck of the woods very often. When I think Tremonton, I still think about driving through the area, like you said, going on a hunting trip or something. Yeah, driving through that area, and if you blink your eyes, you miss Tremonton.
yeah, Tremont was a really, really small town
Um,
when I was young. But
and now you said with the growth, and we touched on that, the growth bringing in people from different areas where the cultures are different, and the areas that do have higher crime rates, they respond differently. And I would agree that this is going to bring about uh, some change in how things are responded to in that area. It's unfortunate that it's growing and coming to that, but I think that that's what's going to take place. And it's sad that officers had to give their lives in the line of duty to affect that change and that
hey,
need for change.
it turned the small town, from officer friendly to officer aggressive. It's hard, it's
Right,
hard to take. Hard to take. I grew
right.
up with I grew up with officer friendlies everywhere. You know.
Well, it,
Um,
it used to be the communities were small enough that you did know a lot of the local people, and officers would get out and walk around and talk to people, and they had the time to
yeah,
do that. And then it went to the time where during a 10-hour shift, you're handling 15 calls, and the only thing you had time to do is run from call to call and hopefully complete your paperwork in between. There wasn't
right.
time for that, which is why in the mid 90s in Ogden City and around the country, they started formulating special units called community policing units and foot patrols and bike patrols to get officers back out on the streets interacting with the community and trying to build those relationships. Uh, but with the rising crime rates and the lack of number of officers, it was oftentimes difficult to do those kind of things.
Yeah. So I don't know, all the particulars, but I I often wonder about situations like this, and like we talked about where this guy comes from, but also misinformation that came out. Like this morning on Fox, that you said they were going to wait for facts. At
Mm-hmm.
6 this morning, what they put out is different than what they're saying now. Although they did know that two officers were shot and killed, and the dog and sheriff and his police dog were shot through the car.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but um, they didn't say he had come out of the residence. They said he had came around the corner from the outside of the house, and he could have went out the back door. I don't know where he came from.
Right. Right.
Uh, but some of the information was still misconstrued at 6 this morning on the
Well,
news.
and I think a lot of the news as it comes out, as well as the social media uh, folks, they want the headline grabber, and the rest of it doesn't seem important until the end.
Right, right.
Um,
Uh,
don't bother
yeah,
me with things like details and facts. I've got my headline.
yeah, yeah. It reminds me, I refer to this cartoon that was in Easy Rider magazine many years ago. Motorcycles jammed in the grillwork of a car, and the car had coming the wrong way down the road. It's a one-way street.
Mm-hmm.
The biker's heads through the windshield. The girlfriend's sitting on the curb, just to paint a picture. And
Mm-hmm.
there's two officers talking, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and one officer one officer says to the other officer, he says, "Well, cite the biker for breaking and entering, and then give the girlfriend a ticket for leaving the scene of the accident."
Right. Yeah.
You know, so uh, face value, taking a look at things from different perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to make this humorous, but that cartoon just reminded me of how things can get misconstrued, even inside the police departments,
Well,
and the news
and
media,
news media, yeah.
you know.
So,
And then if you throw in social media today, what kind of confusion you got now?
well, yeah,
You know,
because then you've got everybody that's following that thread throwing a comment, uh, fishing, trying to stir the pot. Um, and you've always got the every other line. What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? And other people trying to answer that question when they don't really have the facts. Um, so again, this was a tragic incident. Um, sure, we'll have more facts on it as they come out. Uh, Definitely get your facts before you start talking about something, people.
do the
This,
research,
this,
make
this,
sure
this,
what you're going to say is fact.
yeah, this throwing stuff out on social media, um, when you don't have the facts. Okay, maybe you want to alert people that something's going on in case they live in that area. Okay, that's great. But let's not start putting out information until we actually have factual information.
Then kind of like what we do, we have conversations sometimes, and we will state that this is speculation. We don't have the facts.
Right,
You know,
right,
So we're just putting a scenario together, or more than one scenario of how this might have went down. You know,
right.
um, but until you don't know.
Exactly.
So,
So hearts go out to the officers and their families in those communities that suffered this loss. Uh, from Padre Havoc and Bones. I don't know how we stay positive in this other than moving forward.
we move forward as we do. Life goes on. Uh, I feel bad for the officers myself, and I feel bad for the community and the families for this to happen. Um, Growing up as I did with a lot of small towns and communities and people, I can understand what devastation this might bring to Tremonton. Um, Try to find some positive in life today, and God bless everybody.